fuck is this?
Okay, custom. Hop on back.
What's up?
Go to this ledge over here.
Oh, we're gonna do that shit.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Sorry, there was a guy there.
Yeah, I heard.
I'm trying to get on, hang on. Dang it.
Alright,
Yeah, what's
alright.
up?
God, dude.
Alright, somebody take a screen cap of this.
Let's go, dude. Run me through there. Oh, I fell off, dude.
Oh shit. Hey, I'm Scott, and this is Bad Gaming. This video is essentially going to be about how to boost your KD while playing the objective, and hopefully also topping the leaderboard. So you can see by what's going on in the background, I regularly top the leaderboard. I get the highest, maybe second or third highest KD, and by far the highest points. Like this one, I was 600 or so ahead, 700 or so ahead. Here's 13 KD ratio, and 13 I wouldn't say is regular for me, but it's not all that uncommon. Especially if you're rolling with the squad. That's kind of a little bonus piece of advice. You want to roll with the squad. If you can't, that's fine. Like the gameplay that is going on in the background right now, it's kind of scattered throughout this video, that was by myself. The people in my squad were randoms. So, also, before we really get started, I want to say thank you to Unkindled Soliston. He kind of convinced me to make this video just by asking. I've been wanting to make this video, but I didn't really think anybody wanted to see it. So, first piece of advice is for kits. You're usually going to want to run as a medic or support, and the reason why is because these classes are self-sustaining. These classes will, you'll be able to resupply if you run low on ammo. You'll be able to heal if you're hurt. And those are the two most important reasons for kind of why people die. It's something to do with ammo or something to do with, obviously, health. So the primary that you're going to use is something that's effective at close to long medium range. And so for a gun like that, you're going to be looking at like the Mondragon Optical, 1907 sweeper, not so much medium-long range, but you kind of get the idea. Any variant of the MG15, the Show Shot, the Parabellum, RSC Optical, the Optimat Optical, anything like that. Now, for smaller maps like here on Argonne Forest, you're going to want to shoot or have something that has a higher rate of fire, maybe something like the Autoloading Extended or the Bar. And the reason you kind of want these guns is it's pretty simple. It's a high rate of fire and high damage per second. And ideally, you want both of those in your gun, especially if you're newer or you're always on the objective. So for a sidearm, what you're going to want to do is have a gun that feels comfortable and also has a fast reload. Those are the two most important things. If you feel comfortable using it, perfect. If it has a fast reload, then it's the exact gun you want. If you feel comfortable using it and it's something like the Bulldog revolver, then just ditch it. You're better off switching to a different gun. If it's something that's going to take you all day to reload, you don't want that gun. And if you say, oh, well, I only reloaded a couple times, per round, that means you're probably dying too frequently. Or you're not using your sidearm very often, which I guess wouldn't be that big of a deal if you're not using the sidearm very often. What I usually roll with is the number 3 revolver. It's got a great hip fire, it's a great gun, really fast reload, and it's high damage too. If I'm not using that, then I'm using something similar to the Frommerstop. I don't remember what it is for each class, but the Frommerstop is an amazing gun. It's got alright damage per shot, but the rate of fire is outstanding. So moving on to grenades, what you're going to want is a frag or incendiary or a light AT grenade. If there are enemy vehicles present, this is when you're going to run with light AT grenade. You don't want to so much go with gas, because gas grenades are, I mean, you're going up against, you know, assaults on the objective. They're useless. They're just going to throw on a gas mask and hip fire at you all day long. So the primary reason for you using a grenade is actually going to be for area denial. You're going to want to keep them off of you for even if it's just 2 seconds. That's more than enough, because you're going to be using this grenade to throw down, you know, kind of at a choke point so that enemies can't go through. So you can get a clutch revive off. You can get into a better position. You can, you know, even flank them with a mini flank. But that's the use of your grenade. It's not primarily going to be for killing people, even though it's really good at that. Also, smoke grenade might be necessary depending on how heavily the enemy is on the objective. You might want to use a smoke grenade so that you can, you know, get around them without them seeing you exactly. And next we're going to go into gadgets. So for the medic, what you're going to want is a syringe. The syringe is, I mean, if you're a medic running out without a syringe, you're wrong. That's all it comes down to. And the purpose behind having that syringe is going to be so that you can have teammates with you. You know, if you go in together with 3 other people and the 3 other people die and you're the only ones left, you're going to need those numbers with you. So you're going to revive your teammates and they're going to help you out, and that's going to help your KD. You also might want to use it kind of to revive a teammate. It's kind of shitty, but to revive a teammate so that they can serve as a distraction or a decoy. That way, if there's someone there and you know they're coming around the corner and they're going to have outgunned you, maybe you have an automatic going, you have, you know, the self-slaughter 1916 or 1917. So you're going to want to revive that teammate, and once you revive them, they're going to be the primary target. And the reason it's actually not that shitty is because the teammates in the same position they would be in if you weren't reviving them. Their KD is going to be the same, their score is the same, so it's really not that big of a deal. And actually on this clip you're going to see me revive someone just for that purpose. See, I get shot in the back, and then I revive this guy so that I have 2 people there. So it wasn't exactly as a decoy, but it was just to make sure that I had another teammate there. So your next gadget is your med pouch. So the med pouch is clutch here, especially compared to the med crate, because it keeps you alive while you're on the move, and it can be thrown from cover, and also you can be healed while you're suppressed. This is important because if you're behind a piece of micro cover and somebody's shooting at you and you're suppressed and they keep suppressing you more, you're not going to heal with a crate, but you will with a pouch. As well as, and you've seen it in some of my gameplay, but as well as being able to be healed on the move is huge. So that's that, I guess. For the support, your first gadget is going to be your pouch, and the reason you're picking the pouch over the crate for support is because it instantly replenishes allies' gadgets, as well as your own ammo, and resupplies your own gadgets really quickly. So that's why you want it over the crate. Your second gadget is either going to be the repair tool or an explosive. So the repair tool, you're only going to use that if you have a teammate who, a squad mate actually, who's dedicated squad mate. You're running with them, and you're going to have that repair tool if they have a vehicle. Otherwise it's useless, because if you're using it with someone who's not a dedicated squad mate, they're just going to get you killed. You know, they don't really care if you survive or not. They don't care anything about that. They'll just drive right away. But a dedicated squad mate is going to make sure that you know where the shots are coming from. They're going to tell you, you know, hey, get behind me, or hey, go to the other side, or anything like that. Now, for the explosives, it's any explosive that you choose, excluding the mortars. The mortars discourage you from objective play. They also make it so you're easily flanked, and they're generally pretty easy to avoid. You know, you get hit once, you run away, and then you're safe. So that's why you don't really want to go with the mortars. Now, I know there are people that are really good with mortars, more power to them. Generally, most people are actually not very good with them. I'm okay with them at best. Okay, so moving from there, we're going on to controlling engagements. Now, most big YouTubers, you'll see they're really good at controlling engagements. And that's how you get good KDs. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt myself. I put this clip on there to show you not to chase down kills. So that's, bonus advice. But that's what happened. I chased down a kill and I got killed. So anyway, going back to controlling engagements. For controlling engagements, we have tactical pauses, and you have retreat and re-engage. You also have accuracy, which isn't really controlling the engagement, but, it kind of falls in there. So a tactical pause, what it is you're removing yourself from the fight for 2 to 10 seconds. If it's any longer, then the people that you killed will come down and come back to try to hunt you down. That's just kind of the way Battlefield is. People like to try to kill people that killed them. So the purpose of a tactical pause is to heal, resupply, reload, take cover. Importantly, you want to take a deep breath or two to help you kind of calm down your nerves. Sometimes when you get a good flank or kind of on edge, you're going to want to calm down a little bit, take a couple deep breaths. You're going to check your remaining ammo, briefly observe your minimap, which is huge because you can tell, where allies are, sometimes where the enemy is. Sometimes you can tell where the enemy is by seeing where allies have died. And then also, most importantly, you want to check your flank, your rear flank. I can't even count the times that I've gotten a good flank off. I'm doing okay. I don't bother to take a tactical pause because I'm kind of in the zone, or I've got plenty of ammo, that sort of thing. And then all of a sudden somebody kills me from behind. So you're going to want to definitely check that rear flank. So how you do this is, you engage with the enemy. Maybe you kill 1 or 2. Maybe you don't need to kill any, but, you get some shots off and you need to, you got to break that engagement after a little bit. So you purposely stop shooting, possibly throw a grenade to make sure nobody chases you down, and you get behind that little bit of cover and just do what I told you, take a deep breath and all that good stuff. It's really important that you seek cover, because if you don't have cover, there's no point in taking the tactical pause. And you'll see this kind of a lot throughout my gameplay, especially on this map, actually, where I use what I call a rolling tactical pause. So it's not like I actually stop and take a breath or anything like that, but I get behind cover and, I run around, kind of try to scope out where the enemy is. And so I do it on the move. And once you get good at doing it, then you can do it on the move. And it's pretty helpful to be able to do it on the move. You don't really want to stop in first-person shooters too much, because that's how you get killed. I mean, honestly, I've been killed more, waiting around for something to happen than I have been running around and actually killing people. Okay, so retreat and re-engage. It's a little bit different than attack pause. You're purposely breaking the contact, and you're doing it without intending to go after the same target. So there's kind of 2 reasons to do this. The first is to lay a trap, and traps never really work out in Battlefield 1, so I really wouldn't recommend it. But the second reason is, it's essentially because you're outgunned. Maybe you're already hurt, you're low on ammo, or the enemy is just better than you are. That happens. Sometimes I run into people that are just better than me, and I have to figure out a different way to attack them, or, just not attack them at all. So if you're going to lose the engagement, you want to get out of there as fast as you can. That's kind of just the bottom line to it. So now moving on to accuracy. It's one of the most important contributors to winning any 1v1. If you have crap accuracy, you're not going to win. That's just what it comes down to. So my personal stat for accuracy is like 0.17. It's terrible, but it's mostly because I mess around in planes a lot and in tanks in the secondary gunner seat and stuff like that. So my accuracy that way is pretty low, but if you look at my individual weapons, they're pretty high. General rule of thumb is you want to, so if you have more than 20% accuracy with any given weapon, that's reasonable. If you have more than 30%, I would say that's good. So those are generally the kind of weapons that you mostly want to go with. If you have 40% plus, that's kind of the weapon you want to go with most of the time. because that means you're really good with it, and that means you're going to win more 1v1 fights than you would with most other guns. Once you get better with those kinds of guns, then you can move on to different guns, and you can be proficient in those. But we're going to take a look at an example of what 20% accuracy actually looks like. So say you have the Self-Slaughter 1906. With 20% accuracy, if you run into an enemy, it's 1v1, you're actually going to have to either switch to your secondary or reload twice in order to kill them. And the reload on the Self-Slaughter 1906 is not forgiving. So I can't imagine trying to reload twice for just one kill. Now, to work on your accuracy, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go into an empty server. If you have a friend to do this with, then that's great, and that'll work out better. But otherwise, you're going to want to go into an empty server, and you're going to want to pick a target that's a little bit smaller than man size, and you're going to practice shooting it from all different kinds of positions. Prone, standing still, kneeling, and sliding, both ADS and hip fire for all of those. And you're going to get better at accuracy. That's just kind of how it is. You have to practice it. So now we're going to move on to movement. Within movement, you have sliding and crouching, cover versus concealment, and rolling cover, and running versus walking. Now, sliding, bottom line for movement is that it can help you get the jump on enemies, multiple enemies, sometimes even. So for sliding, you have two different types of slides. You have what I call the stutter slide, and then the standard slide. So the stutter slide is when you run and you press crouch, and it sort of sends you into a slide that stutters a little bit. It's okay. It's really only good for getting behind cover. I wouldn't really recommend using it otherwise. The other kind, though, you can use it to, you can essentially use it to slide around the map, which is silly, but it's true. But it's good for tactics like running the rabbit, which is essentially where you move quickly into a room or around a corner, stuff like that, so that it's harder for the enemy to hit you. Usually they'll start shooting at where you were instead of where you are, because it takes a second for them to register what exactly you're doing. And if you can do this with another teammate, one of you runs the rabbit, the other one kind of just ducks into the room and shoots, then usually you can win most of those engagements, even against someone who's camping. So the way you do it, I don't think I said how you do it. The way you do it is you run and press crouch and release, and then you press crouch again and it'll pop you back up. So next is cover and concealment. Essentially, most of you probably already know this, but the difference between cover and concealment is that cover provides something between you and the target that will prevent bullets from hitting you. Concealment is just so that it's harder for them to see you. Essentially, you always want conceal or cover instead of concealment, but if you only have concealment, work with it. Rolling cover is one of the it's an actual tactic in the real world. It's one of the best things you can do, and that's basically you just want to pick out where your next cover is going to be. So you're running, say in Amiens isn't a really good map for it, but say in Argonne Forest, there's a lot of micro cover around, there's larger cover that you can get behind and all that. You're going to just want to pick out your next piece of cover every time you pass the cover that you previously picked. And this will help you from getting killed a lot of the time. It's extremely useful. And once you learn how to do it kind of on the move and rapidly, you're going to get a lot less deaths in your rounds. And it'll help you from hanging out in the open and from getting too far away from cover. Now, running versus walking, essentially, just to cut it down to bare bones, you're going to want to walk when you don't have to run and run when you don't have to walk. Don't walk to the first objective at the beginning of a round. It's kind of useless. It's a dumb move. But when you're running around a corner and you're not sliding or what have you, you can't shoot, so there's no point in doing it. Okay, so now we're moving on to flanking. In flanking, it's the best way to bolster your KD. you're going to score a lot more points. You're going to do a lot more for your team if you can flank. So there's 3 types of flanks. There's the short flank, long flank, and mini flank. A short flank is kind of, it cuts you closer to the enemy, and instead of going all the way around an enemy, usually you approach them from the side, or essentially you might even end up on the same travel path as them, so it's not ideal. It's something you kind of want to use whenever you are short on time and they're already on the objective. So that's the short flank. The long flank is where you're kind of sticking to the edge of the map or the edge of where you're going to be seen, and you're staying kind of out of the enemy's fire. That way you can get a better idea, or they don't get a better idea of where you are, and you're able to get behind them. So think on Argonne Forest, where you have like 3 main avenues of approach if you're playing frontlines on C. You can go down the middle, you can go a little bit to the left or the right, or you can go all the way to the right, usually on both sides actually, all the way to the right, and you can get around the enemy pretty easily at the beginning of the round. And then lastly, that brings us to the mini flank. And it's simple, it's quick. All it is, you're going around micro cover in a way that the enemy doesn't expect. And you're doing this to kind of throw them off and be able to attack them from the side, maybe even the rear, but usually the side. And this will let you get the upper hand on them. Usually it doesn't work if there's more than 1 or 2 guys, but it's extremely useful. Sometimes it involves going over the cover that you have. And lastly, as a bonus tip, is your headset. You're going to want to use a headset because you can hear where the enemy is coming from. You can hear a lot of smaller noises that you don't normally hear when you're playing without a headset. So I highly recommend getting a headset. There's a lot of good ones for pretty cheap, $35, $30. You can get a decent pair, and you'll be able to hear what's going on around you. You'll also be able to talk to your teammates, which is incredibly important. So that's it for now. Enjoy the rest of this video, and thank you for watching. No.
He was pretty much in our spawn. But I was like, I need for the. Okay. Can I not be on the ground? Good.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Oh, that tank's right there, Birdie.
Great, our level 2 has our fucking tank.
There are so many gas needs around me right now. It's actually ridiculous. Damn, bro, we're getting swarmed.
Enemy coordinates have been sent to our artillery. Enemy coordinates have been sent to our artillery.
I don't know how you instantly get one.
A reload.
Oh.
So that's pretty cool.
Well, someone got it.
This is my last game. I'm getting off.
We have defused objective button.
Damn.